going to pause now and ask for any comments or questions. If somebody, we're gonna have the folks who are wearing these come up at the end and kind of tell you a little bit about their outfits. But are there any Bunad questions now before we go into the next portion of the presentation? No.
You know, when we're talking about that Bunads became noticeable around that period in history, that it was also called the Romantic period. Well, art was also called the Romantic period. Beautiful, beautiful work that showed valleys and mountains, that when you looked at it, your heart ached with love for that land, and that was your land. And I think the Bunads represent that a little bit too. Love for your heritage, your people. And you have to remind yourselves too that in Norway, twice they were ruled by other countrymen, both the Swedes and the Danes. And while they're not bitter enemies today, still it's not quite the same as one of your own being your king. And another example for the connection with where you're from and proud of your community is rosemalling, which is the folk art that I do some of, and it is very regionally recognized. And that's normal as well. It's all interconnected. The art during that time, the outfits, the things changing, and you have an industrial world opening in front of you. People were very happy to cling to what they knew to be solid and sound and good. And some of it was the dress code. So, I'm trying to think of something else that I was going to say about this. Maybe I'll be quiet until we talk.
Okay.
Well, until the others.
We'll take some questions here. I'll take them.
I think the resurgence, in the last 20, 40 years is because the younger generation, especially in Norway, is recognizing their heritage,
Right.
and it has become, you see a lot of weddings where they're both the groom and bride are in their respective things. And I'm just wondering if that's what's bringing that resurgence, to 21st century.
I think it is. Corey, do you have a thought?
One of our members, Christina, young lady, her teenage son handed out gifts during the Julefest. She dropped by the house the other day, and I was surprised to hear from Christina that, as was mentioned here, that Bunads are making a comeback with the youth in Norway today. I mean, that doesn't sound like the United States, does it? But both for women and men. So that was, and she confirmed the price tag is really hefty.
I'll get them in the order. Yes, ma'am?
Well, I had a comment and a question. I was in Norway last summer, and we were taken to a man's house who does teas there and holds events on his property. He's a gentleman farmer, and he dressed up in his bunad. But he told us that they don't tend to give the confirmation age boys the bunads because they grow after that and they're too darn expensive. So they wait to give them to the boys later. Then the other thing I had is a question. So they wear them for the 17th of May, right? So does Norway, because I'm both Swedish and Norwegian, and just new to the Norwegian part of me. So do they celebrate like midsummer, like Sweden would wear traditional costumes at midsummer, which is in June?
that's not appropriate for wearing your expensive shoes.
But
But I mean, they do like maypole kind of things, the dance, the bolas up in Sweden and all sorts of stuff.
You get most of that on May 17th.
Yeah, May
You get most
17th
of
is
that
the
on the 17th.
It's basically 4th of July.
And it's more like the
what I did read as I was doing the research is not only is it the 17th of May and weddings and confirmations, but the different sources listed, you know, probably about 10 to 15 different events, family-oriented activities and gatherings where they were indicating that Bunads would be worn. So I think if you had one of these things, you have the potential of wearing it, you know, a couple of times a year. And so I don't think it's just a 1 or 2 day thing. If you like to wear your bunad, like Melody does, okay. Corey says she wears this outfit just waltzing around the house.
No, he did not say that.
You know, you got another question? Yes. First town with the first Bunad? I did read that, but I forgot what it was. Do you know? No. There is a Seminole Bunad out there, and wow, what a great question, and I wish I could tell you what the answer of it is. So there is a number 1 in the list of 20.
Really?
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Sir?
Did any of these develop from Sami clothing?
No.
Yeah,
It's totally different.
Yeah, I didn't get at that in any of the readings, though when you look at it, it's colorful, you know, there's a lot of vibrant colors here and ribbons, and you'd think it would, but at no point did I see it attributed to the Sami culture. Another great question. Yes, ma'am?
I've been to the Sami area in Finland.
Yes.
And we went to a museum, the Sami Museum, and the jewelry definitely looks like the Norwegian jewelry there. I bought earrings, and they look very much like what you'd find in Norway.
I think if it looks similar, it's sort of a subconscious thing, or that nobody wants to admit to it.
Can you all see that from where you are? This is typical Sami Bunad.
Well, I don't know if they call it Bunad though?
Yeah, it's their typical regional dress. Traditional dress. So they do have traditional dress.
They absolutely
but it is a little different. And it's very easy to distinguish it.
What's good about this is I believe we're going to post this on YouTube, so we're going to get lots of people telling us. We'll have some comments. We'll know by the end of the year. All right.
Comment.
Sir.
One of the things, has a good fortune, make trouble in every part of Europe, and at some point you learn something. But it seems like everywhere we went, be it for family or otherwise, every region, their native costume was put down by the elite, those peasants, etc. And then 1850 thereabouts, the kings start disappearing. And all of a sudden, we realize this beautiful stuff is beautiful. It seemed like in almost every region, a village 5 miles away would have a difference. And if you came to my village, I could spot you. Like that. So, because whoever did the designs for that village set the pattern. In Scotland, those modern kilts, there's only one native kilt, black one. All those other kilts are like here, same time frame. And you can spend a lot of money. But every single one, I have families from Poland, I have Irish and German, etc. Spent a lot of time in other countries. It's all the same way. Village A, Village B, 7 miles away. You talk to people and they'll say, oh, where's your wife from? She's not from around here. How far away? 7 miles. Yeah. So you have the costumes of each village. But now, wow.
Yep.
So on that thought too, you know how we as Americans sometimes greet people that we really don't know. We really don't know anything about. We'll probably never see them again, but we say things like, "Hi, how are you? Where are you from?" One, they probably wouldn't say that exactly in Norway, but especially if there's a Bunad on that individual, they don't have to ask where you're from because they recognize the pattern. And it's the same way in the folk art, the rose falling that I do. When you look at it and you know your patterns, you know, oh, well, that's a telemark or that's a Hollindahl. You don't have to ask somebody, you just know it. So when I realized that years ago about just the question, where are you from, they would never ask that if you're in regional dress. So.
Okay, all right. I think what we'll do is we'll transition to the next section here. First thing I want to do is thank you to the 13 folks who gave me their names and where they were from in Norway, so I could look up the kind of bunad that you would find in that region. Now this depended on a lot of things. The first thing, reading the handwriting of some of the people who signed up on the map, and then sort of translating a Norwegian town to find it on the map, which I was able to do. Okay, so here's the first one. Corey actually sent me some photos. Corey, can you tell me who these two people are?
Yeah, the couple on the left are my mother's parents on their honeymoon. They had settled in North Dakota, but they went west Oregon and Montana to visit some family out there. And she is in her regional bunad, which would be near Jurvik in Snertingdal. And then the woman on the right is my father's mother. She was from a farm near Nesbyen in Hallingdal, and that was before she immigrated over to the States early in the 20th century.
What I loved about this is when I went in, and it doesn't come up here because the images didn't transfer, but this outfit and that outfit, this comes from that region.
Yeah.
Very similar. You can kind of pick up and see, okay, that's the older version, maybe this is a little more modern stylized, but yeah, it was kind of cool. The other thing I did, I just want everybody to notice, I kind of plotted relatively where these two locations are on the map of Norway. And I kind of want you to individually take note of that as we go from slide to slide, because you'll see something that's interesting when we get to the very end. Okay, Lillehammer. Rosalie. All right. Okay. You got one of those in your closet?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. That one is stunning. Okay. All hand embroidered, and then I do believe that's a silver belt. But kind of a neat idea. Rosalie also here in Norway, Lillehammer, sort of central to the central area. Okay. Next slide. Martha. They are not here. So, okay. This was cool because this particular fjord, Hadeland, okay, had quite a few. You got to remember, most of the population is along the coast and sort of wrapped around here, but certainly in southern Norway. So they had a lot of different styles. But I took. They had a lot of what you might immediately say, hey, that's a traditional looking bunad, but a lot of the different styles had this plaid pattern in them, which I thought was kind of cool. I'm thinking on my feet here, I'm thinking, okay, Norway's here, Scotland's over here. I don't know if there's any influence there, but kind of cool. Okay, next slide. Soraya is not here. Okay? I feel like I should be saying she's wearing stunning blue. But Soraya is from this area of Norway. Her family is, and another example of a pretty decked out Bunad. Okay, next one. Tom? No?
Tuna didn't come.
Not here. Okay. Gave me 2 locations. So I pulled photos from the Bunads from the various locations. Here you can kind of see the men's outfit. You gotta remember, these things are pretty much designed over the last 100 years. You know, certainly cueing off of old style clothing from the 1800s, but these are kind of new. Much like the guy in that video who came dancing out in one of these outfits, you'd think they'd make them a little more toned down. No, we're over the top. And again, down here in the Vestfold area. Okay. Also, before you go off of that one, it tells you that the 2 on the top was 1956 was kind of when they were endorsed. So they're on the list, but they got on the list in 1956. Okay, next slide. Okay, my lovely bride, also down here, Norway, Vestfold. Okay, and this is the one I keep threatening my wife with. She just doesn't want to go for it.
John, you may have said this. You talked like there's 450 possibilities and 250 possibilities. And I'm seeing on the map, I don't know, 20 regions. Like, there's a finite number eventually where, or do they get down to like a nice little village?
Yeah, I've got, I don't know if I'm going to put it up on the screen, but the website where you can shop for these, it was actually the most informative. So it would pick a region, and some of these regions would only have like one Bunad. You know, that represents the whole region. But then you click on the next one, and there's like 7 or 8 names, and some of them are villages, some of them are like subset, you know, regions inside one of these counties. I don't know if county is the right word. But yeah, if we're talking 250 plus of these things, yeah, they're spread out. Or there's a lot of the density of them, especially around the towns. What's really cool is Oslo was kind of late to the game here. So, this is a little side note. Because most of these are traditional outfits from the countryside. The people who lived in Oslo, you know, a little more sophisticated, they don't wear the traditional clothing. So their styles didn't come out until these things started to be a fashion trend. And now good old Oslo has Bunads that it claims. There is that's a relative thing. Like maybe theirs are only 100 years old, you know, something like that. Okay, Oslo being north of here. We are going to actually see one from Oslo. We'll see how closely it matches the one Melodon. Okay, Christy. All right.
Yeah, I don't have one.
Oh.
No.
You don't have one?
I don't know if I'd like that.
She's digging that hat though.
What you can tell is that is a married woman.
Yep.
Because of that fancy hat she's wearing.
No,
This lady down here.
Isn't that the name of the neighborhood, like right across the street, Christian something?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's where it's from.
That's where that name came from. I read about that.
Start right over here.
Yeah, right.
I saw a guy riding his riding lawnmower the other day.
Wearing a Bunad.
Wearing a Bunad.
Are you serious?
But, hang on. Let's go.
I'm sorry.
So, did you notice the date on that one? 1810. These top ones, they got to be in the top 20. You know, very traditional. And that's why they look maybe, you know, not as contemporary. Like today, they kind of would drop that fancy hat. I would go for those folks. All right, next slide. Bert, are you here? Not able to come. Okay? Another fancy outfit. I will say that the darker colors, so they can, so I said, there's two things. One is they like to get these things when they're young, they put in extra fabric, they expand it as they get older. But when women get married, it is possible to break out a new bunad. And depending on the region you come from, sometimes when they're married, they go for the more muted colors because they're off the market. Okay? So they go for the darker colors. But that's not true across the board. That's not true across the board. Sometimes when they get married, they wear the fancy. They actually take it up a notch and go to even better. Is this going on YouTube again? Sometimes they go with the fancier colors. Okay, next slide. Okay, here's Oslo. Where's that from? Oslo. Okay, don't key in on the color of the bodice color. The fact that was black and the fact that this is blue. Don't key in on that. Do key in on kind of the. Well, you said this is a summer.
This is summer bunad.
Yeah, this
and
is
that
not.
is the wool.
Yeah.
That
Well,
is the winter.
here we
But
go.
you do see the blue,
Yeah.
the summer.
All right, you're legit. Again, a lot of great hand embroidery here. This is also common, that the bodice color, when you see a variation here, that can change in a region, and that's not a big deal. That doesn't make it a new kind of bunad. It's just the nature of, hey, I look better in blue or I look better in green. So the base color doesn't change a lot. They'll have like one or two variations. Okay? And then we'll go down here also. All right? Here we go. Bergen on the coast. Who's down? Yeah, that's not down. Carol, you would look great in that outfit. But this region had, the whole region here has pretty dense amount of different kinds of bunads. This of course is from the coast. A lot of times the embroidery wouldn't be unusual, especially in the modern ones. Like if they were going to redo one for Bergen, they'd probably put a fish on it. That's not unusual. This one is an example of that. But they try and draw in the area, mountains, the flora, the fauna, and incorporate that into the embroidery. Okay, next slide. Okay? All right. Don?
That, actually your flag in this place this area, the area where that is by in where we're going to probably butcher the pronunciation of Jevnacher, which is where the Holland glass works are, if you've ever heard of that. It's very, very fancy glass work. It's very much a farm area, and in fact, the town that my cousins, so to speak, is Bunads, which is the part of the farm name, and then it turned into Walker when they got to America. Most of the time, the farm area ones are going to be a lot more simple, not the overdone embroidery and that, because it's a farm community, not an urban, so to speak, community.
That's a good point. I took a slide out of this because I thought it was a little bit in the weeds, and and now I don't have their names in front of me, but there are two ladies in the late 1800s during this Romantic revival period who were very instrumental in sort of getting, one, the music, two, the artwork, and more importantly, three, this notion of Bunads and the importance of these to the Norwegian culture. And these two ladies did the early documentation, sort of set out what the standards are, but they made that point in describing that the older outfits tend to be a little more simple. You know, they're maybe have really cool embroidery on them, but not a lot of color, because that's just not part of what they had locally to create some of these. So I don't know, it's probably a generalization, but the more muted, toned down ones would be a little more authentic. Though this one goes a little over the top. Looks kind of antique. Okay, next slide. Cindy Harris. Which one of those do you have, Cindy?
It's in the picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one right here?
Yeah, it's my grandmother's.
Wow.
Mine is also from Port of Lunch. You want me to talk about it?
If you'd like to.
Yeah, it's just probably very similar to what your grandma.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at it, I'm going, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the table, it's my grandmother's
Yes.
in the middle.
Let me finish with Cindy's photo. She brought in a photo of Grandma.
Yeah, my grandmother and then two of her sisters.
Two of the sisters here, all wearing Bunads. This is what time frame do you think? Like early 1900s?
Probably right around this.
Yeah.
She was born in the 1890s, so
Okay.
it was
So
probably
early 1900s.
yeah, early 1900s.
So this will be up here. You know, if anybody wants to come up and take a look, Cindy would like to get her picture back, and she graciously brought it. So
Yes.
we also, since we're on Cindy, we also have the Bunad map. Okay, if you know where you're from, you can kind of look at this. You can also go to the Sons of Norway website, where they have turned this wall hanging into a digital tool, and you can click on it, and it will give you pictures of the Bunads from that area.
Wow.
They're cartoonish, but it gets you started if it's something you're interested in. So you can also come up with a look at this. And Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Elton, one of the newer members here. I brought my Bunad, which my grandmother bought for me as a graduation present from college. So when I graduated from college, and we actually went to, after high school, I went to Norway on a trip with her, and we went into a shop, and I like looked around the whole shop, and I picked the Bunad that I wanted with her, knowing that that's something that she wanted to get me in the future. And it was really cool because I ended up picking the one that was from her region that she's actually from, which is really cool. So she's from Tisnes, which is an island. It's about 30 miles south of Bergen, an island off of the southwestern coast. That whole kind of lower region is the Hordaland area, and Bergen falls in that too. So Bergen was in the Hordaland, but this is specifically Tisnes, and it's characteristic. The green kind of embellishments are characteristic of Tisnes, and also another thing about the Hordaland Bunads in general is that they have this removable plastron. So this plastron right here actually comes out, and that would be worn here, and that has the intricate beadwork. Is what it's, as opposed to the embroidery. Some of them have beautiful embroidery. This Hordaland is known for the beadwork. And I also have the belt here, so you guys can come see any of this afterwards that you want. But it comes with this lovely beaded belt. And then I brought some of the jewelry too. This is the brooch, which you see some of the other ladies who are wearing Bunads are also wearing their brooches. And it also comes with I also have a neck pin. So this would be what you would wear up at your collar. If your collar didn't have buttonholes, you would wear the neck pin to close the collar. So that is the jewelry that I have with it too. What else do I want to say? I think that's it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, Haley, my daughter.
You paid for that?
It was a gift, I don't know. But this is definitely, I want to say, this is definitely a winter. If you're wearing your summer kind of linen. This is wool, this is heavy. You can come feel it, it's heavy. And there is a ton of extra fabric in there, just like we were talking about, to be able to kind of move.
They were resourceful. I mean, it was an expensive outfit.
My daughter is wearing more of a just informal bunad. This is actually mine from when I was growing up. My brothers and sisters, we did a Scandinavian dancing class that we went to when we were growing up, and so this was my bunad, and we have all different sizes because we've got my brother and my sisters. We all had different sizes, so she's been able to grow into it. This one was mine. So this is kind of like a very basic like Hidanger style with the red and the black with the apron. That's kind of like the Hidanger style of bunad. So this one's not as fancy, but it's, you know, obviously more for kids and very pretty. So yeah, I think that's what I want to say.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
Awesome. Okay, next slide. I think we're getting close to the end here. Luther. There you go. Oh. This area, this particular area has a lot of different bunads, a lot of different color patterns, designs, etc., etc. But I thought the men's outfit was kind of cool here.
Yeah.
I wanted to inspire Luther, so I put that up here. His lovely bride also. Maybe this time next year we'll have something to look forward to. Okay, one more. I think I have one more. Ah, yes. Our guest from last.
From last meeting.
Yes. How do you say?
Soul free.
Soul free.
She just gave you the soul. S-O, it's F-R-I-E is the rest of it.
Okay.
Soul free.
This is the lady who got up and kind of gave us some impromptu on the Sammy after that presentation. And she shared these, she talked a little bit about knowing we were going to do Bunads, talked a little bit about it, but she sent along these photos. And again, we'll have to talk to Sons of Norway corporate headquarters and get us a much better projector that shows the fine detail in this embroidery. I'm just kidding. But anyways, yeah, this is all hand stuff, or hand embroidery that was done by her. And this is what she does. These are some of the outfits that she has made. This is one that this one here she's actually working on. And the original photos are pretty detailed. She's pretty good at this stuff. But it's also Grimstad down here in southern Norway.
She said there was 8 yards of fabric just in the skirt alone.
Yeah. With about half of that rolled up into the seam for when she grows, right? Okay. All right. We're going to go to final comments here and close it down for the evening. But what I wanted to show you guys, of the 13 people who gave me where they were from, and, you know, as I looked this up for 13 of us, this is where everybody is at Norway, which I thought was pretty crazy. As I was putting this thing together, I said, hey, everybody's a Southerner, right? Down here in southern Norway, at least of those who came forward and put their name on the list, of those 13, I know we've got about 30 plus, almost 40 people here tonight. Yeah, that's kind of cool. And actually, some of you are within seeing distance of some of the other people here, your ancestors. I know that Soraya and Pam's family were like in the same sort of valley based on the villages that they've got here. And then, yeah, so, and some of the others are very close also. Okay, any other comments or questions? No. Okay, let me see if I've got it here. This may be that site where I got all the Bunad stuff. I will send that link to Melody, and she can send it out in another blast. If you just want to poke around on it, if you have a name of some place where you're at, you just go to the women's clothing, and the list of Norwegian cities or regions pop up, and they have a plus sign. You just click on that, and if there's more than one there, it will expand, and you kind of, and then all these little outfits. So if you want to drop, 4 or 5K on one of these things, you can get to it quickly. Yes, ma'am.
Would you send contact for this to me?
Yes.
And send it to all of us?
I will do that.
Because there might be other people that are interested.
Yep, for sure. Okay. I think that's it. Any questions? If not, I'd like to thank the guest speaker. I got myself a $100 gift certificate.